What's up, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one, I want to break down what's happening with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down some big news involving Tesla in the markets, which you should be watching for at 10 a.m. as we have more data coming out. But just note that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Webull link. If you deposit any amount of money, you're guaranteed 12 free stocks. If you deposit $500, you're guaranteed 20 of them. Deposit $25,000 or more and you're guaranteed 75. The offer ends very soon, in just about 4 weeks from now. Anyways, now let's talk about the market. So right now, Tesla is still dipping as I speak during this pre-market session. We still look a little bit more bearish, and we're looking at this support at this 244 area, previous resistance becoming support. So that's where Tesla is about to be testing. It still looks more bearish approaching our data for the day, so it could continue to dip a little bit more, but we'll be watching to see if Tesla gets a rebound or not off that support. Now, whether or not that happens depends on some data. Today, we had initial jobless claims. This was above expectations at 225,000. Continuing jobless claims was very close to expectations at 1.8 million. So that's something that's worth noting. That's what we're seeing so far in the jobs numbers. There's more jobless claims than expected. However, we have two sets of data coming out. The first one's not as significant, but we still have the S&P Global Composite PMI and Services PMI report at 9:45 a.m. Once again, not as significant as services, but this data is still coming out. Then at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the ISM services business activity, employment, new orders, and prices all coming out. This could cause more volatility 30 minutes after the market ends up opening. So watch to see what this leads to. So be prepared for that, guys. 30 minutes after market open, the services data comes out. This may cause high volatility. We'll see if this causes the market to pump or dump. So be ready for a big move at 10 a.m. It's going to affect Tesla as well. So be prepared for that. As far as Tesla goes, I just want to mention that there's a lot of talk right now about how Tesla's recalling 27,000 of their Cybertrucks, but that's not entirely the truth, because when you look at the data and what this is suggesting, basically beginning September 19th, Tesla has been rolling out the over-the-air software update that's going to remedy some of their issues that they had with their backup cameras. They basically needed 2-second response times to be a lot quicker, and that's going to be very important for them. Many people out there were saying that they had an issue where the rear view camera was not displaying while in reverse for a couple of seconds. So they're trying to fix that, and that's what they've been doing. And basically, excuse me, Tesla's going to mail recall notifications to the affected Cybertruck owners shortly after September 30th. So it's going to be fixed with the over-the-air software update. This is not a typical recall. I'm not sure why the media always uses that. Well, actually, we do know why, but it doesn't make sense to truly say that. This is not a typical recall. It's just an over-the-air software update. Anyways, when it comes to geopolitics, I just want to say that there's a lot of stuff going on right now. Right now, there's been some talk about how during Israel's retaliation attack, they could be targeting Iran's energy infrastructure. Many analysts are talking about that, and that's going to have a big effect on oil prices. We'll see if that ends up being the case. We're not 100% sure exactly how that's going to go. The situation that we're in it goes back a while. It's not like it's starting from this. There's so much that happened that led up to this. So I always just hope for peace, and we will see what Israel is planning, especially after what happened over the last couple of days. So just wanted to call that out. The situation remains tense. Also, the U.S. port strikes are still continuing. There's a lot of companies that are affected by them, from Michelin, Samsung, GM, Amazon, Home Depot, IKEA, Walmart, Hyundai, a bunch of these different companies. There's also even more. I think Apple could also be affected, but I'm not seeing it on the list. So this is very important. The ports are still being, once again, impacted by the strikes. So many of these companies are still being impacted. This is another big catalyst for the markets. The market was flat yesterday. We'll see what happens today. I do expect more volatility, especially at 10 a.m. Besides that, I didn't see anything else that's too crazy. But I do want to mention that U.S. sales in total in the auto industry did see an interesting quarter. We did see a slight decrease, but not too bad. Besides that, there's not anything else that's too crazy on the news. So, with that being said, let's talk about Tesla and the markets. Let's talk about how this is going. So, Tesla is looking more bearish. We're at our 244 support, which is exactly where we called out. That's where I predicted Tesla would go yesterday. If we're bullish, you want to see Tesla break past 247. If we could break that, we could try to fill the gap back up towards 248 and get back up to 250. If we're bearish, you want to see 244 fail us, and we're coming down to this imbalance towards 242. And if that fails, we have a gap to fill all the way down to about 239. So overall, Tesla's looking a little bit more bearish to me. It's still continuing to fall. And we'll see what the reaction happens to be as we're waiting for the data, the services data at 10 o'clock a.m. But for now, we are looking a little bit more bearish. SPY is also kind of dipping here, looking a little bit more bearish. We'll have to see how we react. Can we reclaim 567.76? If it reclaims that, we're looking for 569.64 as resistance. If we fail to do so, and we don't reclaim 567.76, we're at risk of dipping all the way down towards these lower levels. And we could be on our way down to about the 565 area, if not 562. So I think there's a good chance that we dip a little bit lower. The odds do favor that. And our 50 EMA is basically going to be basically our resistance now. So we'll have to see what happens with that now. So this is going to likely continue to dip a little bit more, but then watch and see what the reaction is once we get the services data at 10 a.m. Will it cause us to pump a little bit or dump? If we do get some kind of pump, don't worry, guys. We are eventually going to dump much lower. And if we dump anyways, then yes, the dump is likely coming. So I'm not really worried about which way we go. If we pump really hard, that's going to be a shorting opportunity. If we continue to fall, then it is what it is. As of right now, we do look more bearish during this pre-market session. For ES, we're also kind of like rejecting here. We have this tough resistance at 57.80. We hit that yesterday only to reject so far. Our support to watch for is at 57.30. If that fails us, we could be looking for a bigger dump all the way down to the 5700 area. So we're still looking more bearish overall. We could pop it and dip a little bit lower. We have to reclaim 57.70 to turn back up. So we still favor the downwards momentum, the downwards pressure. For Nvda, we are attempting to rebound. We have this imbalance to fill, so we could get closer to 122. But once this services data comes out, we'll see if Nvda hits 122 and rejects, or we break 122 to go higher. So look for a push for 122 in the morning. If that breaks, I could see 124 technically, but if we come short, we could continue to dip. It looks to me like it might come a little bit short. It might hit 122, then come back down to 118, if not below. That's what I'm predicting for Nvidia thus far. For Bitcoin, we're still looking more bearish. I was talking about this yesterday. We have 61,000 as our resistance, and we have 60,000 support. If that fails us, I'm looking for a dip all the way down to 59,000. The odds do greatly favor that downwards move. For NQ, we have resistance around 20,000. We have support at 19,700. To me, it looks like this is still in our range, but if we lose 19,800, we're looking for that dip all the way down towards 19,700. Still looks more bearish to me. For the QQQ, we look more bearish as well. We still have this gap to fill all the way down towards 475. And also at this like 478 area, we have support. So watch 478. If that fails us, we're going to fill this gap. We also have resistance at 481, not to mention 483, but this still favors the downwards momentum as we have this gap to fill. So watch for that very carefully. For Apple's rejecting right over here. If we break past 226.28, we could try to fill this gap above. If we continue to fall, we're going to be looking for a dip all the way down towards the 225 area. If 225 does not hold, I think we continue to fall all the way down to 222. So be careful with Apple. There's a risk of some more downside. For the IWM, we're still favoring the downwards pressure. We need to break 218 to turn back up, and our support's at 215. If that fails us, we come down to about 212 to fill this gap. So it still looks more bearish to me. It's going to likely continue to fall. I just want everyone to be really, really aware of that. Coinbase looks more bearish. We could be looking for 162 as our targets. Amazon's looking more bearish. We have 182.89 as our support. If that does not hold, we could dip closer to 180. We need to reclaim. If we bounce off 182, we could try to get back up to 184. It depends on the data reaction, but we still look bearish as I speak, so it might dip a little bit more. Meta is also dipping. We're losing our 20 EMA. I see a risk of this dipping down to 565. So we'll see what the reaction is, but it still looks more bearish. Microsoft is looking more bearish. We're getting very close to our target of 414. If that fails us, we're looking for 409. Google looks a little bit more bearish. If we can't reclaim 166, we're looking for 165. So it still looks bearish to me as well. So the market looks bearish, but whether or not we truly continue to fall is going to depend on what kind of reaction we get to the ISM services data. So please be prepared for this. We will see what the reaction happens to be. With that being said, I want to say I really appreciate you guys so much for listening. So please have a great day. As far as Tesla goes, it may be dragged by the markets, but we'll see what the reaction happens to be with the data. There was negative news involving the Cybertruck that was coming out, but once again, guys, it's just a software updates that Tesla had to do to fix it, so it's not really that big of a deal to me. And we'll see how things go from here. But just know there's big data coming out at 10 a.m. Watch for that. Until then, have a great day and peace out.